Do you need encouragement to turn tragedies into your own triumphant life story? If so, this podcast is for you. Listen to powerful guests who have persevered through challenges so you can gain strength to build your championship life. The host of Professor of Perseverance podcast, Dr. James Perdue.
Hey, come on, let's get started here. So, have we got what we call a show for you? All right, let's do some. I want to do this. It's about that time of. We got one more day. I know we're not supposed to script or tell or date or anything, but we're the day before Halloween, and I like to improvise. I like to show off some of our fellow children with disabilities and how they have, but parents mainly, have adapted to help them so they can participate in Halloween. Like this guy in the wheelchair, Batman. See, isn't that cool there? So, all right. What's this other one here? Here's a Superman. Now that's really original thinking that way. Had them legs out the back like that. Really, his legs is what? Under the skyline, the building, but they added it in the back for it to look like he's flying. So it's cool. Here's one that's a pirate. And then here's one, Ice Cream Man. Look at how they fixed all that up. And his wheelchair is where his hand is, but all the other stuff so he can participate. But this is just great. And then who's that? Bob the Builder. So, and show you one more. This is not the wheelchair, but it's pretty funny. What's that, a cookie? And got a leg missing, someone that took a bite already? So, all right, then everybody should have this sign here in your front yard, accessibility trick-or-treating. So everybody with disabilities know that you're open for them to come in as well. Now that we saw some of that, let's go on and move on with our topic for today. She would at one time had relied on a walker, her service dog named Phoebe, and she provided full care for her parents until they passed away. Now, she was facing her fifth surgery. Organs were failing, no clear path to recovery. All right, even though had good insurance. She hit rock bottom, unable to eat or drink for 5 weeks. Wow, that's struggling there. She was saying goodbye to her service dog, Phoebe, preparing for the end. But then life came, better prepared, and she is now with us. Welcome to the show, Antoinette Lee.
Hi, James. Thank you so much for having me. Those were amazing Halloween costumes. Thank you for showing it.
I tell you what, I wish to, not I was 19 when I got hurt. So, but these are, 10, 12, 11-year-olds, 8-year-olds, 7-year-olds, and them to get to participate. I mean, when I was that age, I would have thought any, because I wasn't disabled, one thing, but I don't remember seeing any children out like that. I mean, if they're in the wheelchair, they're in the wheelchair wearing a suit, some type of Halloween suit that you buy at the store. But to be so creative and going around the chair, and especially the Superman with the legs to look like he's flying, yeah, parents are doing great nowadays. I hope a lot of the companies are following along to make it easier for the parents and the provider around the wheelchair. I hope so.
Right. It's a display of not disabilities, but differing abilities. I like to say that I don't have a disability. I might have to do things a little bit different from people who don't have a brain injury. So I have differing abilities, and those kids showed differing abilities on display there.
There you go. That's right. And again, everybody should have this sign, whether you like people or not, but you need to have this accessibility trick or treating. I don't know if this was a joke or maybe I'm looking at it wrong, but look at this, Antoinette. They got the sign there, but then they got steps.
Ah, right.
Okay. Now, unless one of the pumpkins open up, but I don't see an opening on top. So I'm glad they got the sign. Maybe they walk out, down the steps, to make it where they can. But I don't know if that was a trick or a treat there. So, but but I'm assuming with them with that sign, that means they're going to be walking down to give it to them, so mom and dad
Right.
don't want to pull them up the steps and everything like that. So, but we all ought to have signs like that promoting, um, people with disabilities, that you are part of this community and part of society, and we want you to have the best that you can have. So,
Amen.
all right, Antoine, I don't know about you, but I knew when I read your information, it has to be here. And I knew we were going to match up pretty good. When you replied back when I sent the link, you said, create, what'd you say? I'll get it right here. Don't go anywhere. I got it right there. Hold on. Don't go where you said, well, that's not it. Well, you said create your
Create
positive
an
day,
amazing day.
amazing day today. That's what you said. And so when you left that message, create an amazing day today, I knew me and you were going to get along pretty good, showing. And also for the ones that hadn't known or I hadn't mentioned yet, she is a fellow podcaster, and her podcast is New Normal Big Life. So now I'm telling you right now, Antoinette, whether you like it or not, I'm coming on your podcast.
Oh, that sounds amazing. I would love to have you. I will send you an invite.
There we go. Yes,
Absolutely.
we'll take care of this. So, all right. So let's get into your story here. You said goodbye to Phoebe, preparing for the end, and then what happened? I did read earlier. You had a TBI, traumatic brain injury, spinal cord injury, and stuff. Then I read this other information. So, how did things all of a sudden? I know it didn't all of a sudden, but give you the we're going to live now.
Well, after I got injured in the Army, I was an air assault qualified expert field medic, which means I rappel down mountains, out of helicopters, and off buildings to give initial first aid to people. Sometimes I would have to carry them on my back to get to a vehicle or a helicopter where they can be medevaced to a higher level of care, or sometimes on a litter like a stretcher. And so one day I got injured and I became the patient. And then years later, not only was I dealing with the initial injury of breaking my back and the traumatic brain injury, but complications to all of those injuries set in. And I went from being a corporate tech CEO to not being able to care for myself without help from my service dog and caregiver. And so one day I woke up and I was looking down on my body. I could see my dog and myself in the bed, and it felt like my soul had left my body. And I wasn't afraid, even though I felt like it was the end. Phoebe was acting like she did not want to leave my side, not for food or to play or to get water. And she looked as if she was saying goodbye to me. She was behaving that way. But I wasn't afraid because I had lived my life as a good Christian woman. And I felt like, well, if this is it, I'm going on to something good. So I'm not afraid of it. And I didn't even tell my caregiver, let's go to the emergency room. I think there's something really wrong. My caregiver said, we'll go to the emergency room tomorrow. I don't think you look good. And in my mind, I was like, I'm not going to make it until tomorrow, but I was at peace. And so I had thanked God for the life I had lived, because comparatively, I've had a good life. And then I somehow drifted off to sleep at some point. But before I fell asleep, I said, but God, if you give me one more day, if I see tomorrow, I'm going to get out of this bed and figure out why I'm so sick and tired. And I'm going to help other people when I do. And I did live to see another day. And miraculously, that was the first time that I could get out of my bed on my own in 18 months, get my walker, and move around by myself.
Oh, awesome. There you go. So God said, you asked for one more day. We're going to give you that. And let's make it a little easier. Get up and walk.
Exactly.
All
So
right.
I sat down at a computer and I started creating my new normal. because my old life was never coming back. I can't undo the injuries and the complications. I can't undo my chronic health challenges. But what I can do is create an amazing new life. And that's why I like to tell people, create an amazing day today. So I sat down and I thought about how I was going to live my life. And I can tell you the new normal big life process, but I'd rather talk to you about why I was able to do this, to take this what seemed like insurmountable challenges that you just don't know how you would overcome. Because when your brain isn't working, your brain controls every aspect of what goes on inside your body, every aspect of what you can do with your life. When it's not working properly, well, a lot of people feel like my life is over. I didn't feel that way. I felt like my life was on pause. Let me get it back on track. It's never going to be the same, but let's think of how I can make it even better than it was.
That's right. And hey, this is your show. You take us where you want to take us, and we're just going to follow along. And I'm all for. Now, one question I have: you did mention breaking your back, so I again got my neck broken. I'm a quadriplegic. Are you a paraplegic? You said you got up, moved, and walked. So I know you're not
I'm
permanently
not
in a wheelchair. So.
Right. So thankfully for me, if you have to break your back, if you break it towards your tailbone, it is a lot. You can do a lot more in terms of recovery than if you break it in other places. So I do have arthritis from the base of my skull to my tailbone, but I do have great movement. From time to time, I do have to use a walker or a cane sometimes because I'll have a flare up. But once I get that flare up under control, then I'm back hiking and climbing and whitewater kayaking and doing all the things that I enjoy doing.
All right. So how often does that flare up happen? Or is it you overexert yourself and then it comes and you have to rest up? See, I get what's called, we used to call it hypertension dyslexia way back then. I think it's what it's called nowadays. We was just called something else back then. And what it is like if I don't get good sleep for 3 or 4 days in a row, then my body is telling me you got to sleep. And so I'm freezing, spasming, shaking, but I'm burning up inside. And it takes me anywhere from 6 to 12 hours to let that run through its system. And then I'm so wore out, I sleep. So it's my body telling me that. That's how I learned with mine associated with if I don't get enough sleep. And so,
Well,
all right. So what I'm asking is, do you overexert and then it flares up, or it just boom, there it is, and you got to deal with it?
Well, I think there are two causes for my flare-ups. One is if some other thing in my body causes chronic widespread inflammation, then I have a flare-up that affects my mobility. Or if, like you were saying, if my brain is having some problem, like I didn't get enough sleep, I'm under extreme stress, or some other type of challenge, like I can't think of another example right now, but some other event happens and then I get a flare up. And it's usually an event that has to do with not enough sleep or not enough quality sleep, because you can sleep, but it's not deep restorative sleep.
Yes.
Or chronic widespread inflammation. And if I keep those two pretty stable, then my mobility, flexibility, and stability is pretty stable.
Okay, good. So, all right. I don't know if other than asking your dog Phoebe, what kind of dog is she?
She's an American dingo, but she's mixed with yellow lab. So she has the floppy ears of a yellow lab, but everything else is the tan and white American dingo. And she definitely acts more like a dingo. I don't know if you're familiar with dingoes, but they have collapsible bones like mice. And
Really?
She's an escape artist, and she can use her dew claw like an opposable thumb almost. So if you put her in a cage, she'll slip her paw out of the cage and just undo the latch and she's free. So
Wow.
she's a complete escape artist. You have to just control her with good behavior because that's the
Yeah.
only thing that'll keep her on the right path.
You have to change your name to Houdini.
Exactly.
So, all right. Other than that, let's move on to you put us in, keep going with your story. So I mean, again, it just fascinates me how we as human beings, I'm sure there's more than two options, but I look at it as two options. Neither we say, hell yeah, I'm going to do the best I can, let's move on, or I'm going to go, hell no, I'm done with it and give up. Now, I'm sure there's
James,
more.
you spot on.
I'm sure there's more in between, but I don't want to go with the thousand in between. It's either I'm going to do it or I'm not going to do it. So I just love hearing your story, other people's stories that I didn't give up. It's time to move on. Let's go and had the best life possible. It won't be perfect. It won't be best compared to somebody else, but it's good compared to what I need and me have a good life. So, all right, I'll shut up. I'll get off my soapbox.
You're preaching to the choir. We are on the same page, James. And what allows us to either create our best life possible or not is something called hedonic adaptation. And so, hedonic adaptation is a psychological phenomenon that allows people to return to kind of a relatively stable baseline that they were before either a major happy event happens or a major low event happens. So I'll give you a for example. For example, someone buys their dream home and they're so happy with it. And then within 6 months to a year, another house on their street goes on the market and suddenly they're asking their spouse, can we put in an offer on this house? Because we have a square pool and they have a kidney shaped pool and I like it better. Well, even though buying
the
your
grass is greener over there.
yes, even though that hedonic adaptation is a positive one, you bought your dream home, but now the grass is greener on that new house for sale. Well, that's a net. Well, I don't want to say it's a negative way, but that's a way that hedonic adaptation can work against you and staying in gratitude for what you have. Exactly. And staying in gratitude for what you do have keeps you from having to chase that next new shiny thing or feeling like you need to keep up with the Joneses or you need to impress people with what you have and what you can do, all those material things. But the other way that hedonic adaptation helps us in a positive sense is that when you've had a profound loss, like a life-changing injury like you've had, or a life-changing injury like I've had, what allows you to get back up after you've been knocked down so severely that it not only changes your life, it changes your identity, what you're capable of doing, and your future. Well, what allows you to say, you know what, this really sucks, but I am going to move forward in life and not let this keep me stuck and angry and having a small, unhealthy also life. So hedonic adaptation helps you get back to that set point that you had before you were injured or before you got your dream job or won the lottery. So with hedonic adaptation, if you were a person who is sort of naturally the glass is half full, everybody's life is better than mine, you had kind of a low baseline already, then when you have a major injury or a major setback, like you lose someone who's very close to you, or you lose a job or a divorce or something like that, that's huge, then you were already low on a baseline level and then you dropped even lower. And
You're
it's really
looking at all the bad negative stuff that comes along with that instead of
right.
looking at the possibilities of what could come. Yeah.
Exactly. And it's harder for that person to rebound back to a moderate
hmm
baseline, a
hmm
sort of where you're happy with your life and you feel positive about things. And it also takes you longer to rebound. So that's why it's important for you to understand hedonic adaptation and to also have a positive outlook as early in your life, even from childhood, as possible, because when life happens, and life happens to all of us, right?
Oh, yes.
Good things happen, bad things happen. No one escapes this life without some kind of trauma, without some kind of negative experiences. It's going to happen. So you can prepare yourself and your children and grandchildren by helping them to adopt a positive can-do attitude so that when life happens, their hedonic adaptation baseline is from here, not from way down here, right? But if you are like me, I am by nature a positive person. I don't get mad, angry. I don't stay angry long. I don't stay depressed very long, even though I'm diagnosed with post-traumatic stress and anxiety and depression. When my biochemical environment is not balanced, then I feel depressed, anxious, etc. When my biochemical balance is in our biochemistry is in balance, and you can do that with lifestyle choices that we can talk about in a little bit. I talk about it all the time in my podcast, and you can download step-by-step plans for getting your, for example, your vitamins, minerals, and other things that you need for a balanced brain so that your mood is balanced and you're sleeping well and you don't have a nervous system that's always on, ready for fight, flight, freeze, fawn, and what I like to call photograph in the 21st century smartphone age.
Oh, yes.
So anyway, with hedonic adaptation, it allowed me to look at my trauma, this brain injury and all the complications and the spine injury, and say, what do I need to do to get back to my baseline? What will make me happy? What will my new normal look like? Where will I work? What kind of friends do I want or surrounding me? What will I do for fun? What will where will I live? All of those kinds of questions is what you ask yourself. And you don't concern yourself with money and do I need more education for this new job? Or how am I going to meet someone in the age of an epidemic of loneliness in this country, in all of the Western world, as a matter of fact? You don't think about the who, what, when, where, how, and how much. You just think about what you want to do, and then we'll work on how to make it happen. And so through using hedonic adaptation to create your new normal, you're using what's already inside you. And people used to think hedonic adaptation was a lizard brain function, but it's actually not. So the hedonic adaptation, or the hedonic treadmill, it's called, and it's spelled Hedonic, hedonic. Well, it's not a reflexive phenomenon like fight, flight, freeze, fawn, and photograph. It's not a lizard brain function. It occurs in the lizard brain functions usually occur in the brainstem and the ganglia, and they run below your awareness. They're like automatic. So when you perceive stress or danger, and you get that a surge of adrenaline so you could run fast, that's a lizard brain function, right? So lizard brain functions, they happen quickly, they're automatic, they're below your subconscious, and you can't adapt that. Like, you can't change that. It's built into you. But what we know is that the hedonic adaptation is partially lizard brain, but mostly it's mammalian or limbic and primate neocortical functions. So
That's
the
easy
parts
for
of
you
the
to say.
brain the parts of the brain that evolved after the lizard stage, right? So it's like the cortex, the anterior cingulate, the insula, the nucleus accumbens, and the ventral striatum. So it's the newer part of the brain, the part of the brain that allows us to talk. Couldn't talk, humans couldn't talk, but when we had lizard brains. So you tap into all of that, and that's what helps you get through to creating your new life after a major traumatic event.
That was a lot in there. That was
Yes.
a lot, but yes, you're true.
But it's
I
a
didn't know.
but it's only a 3-step process to making that happen.
Yeah, I was gonna say I didn't know they had a name like you said, hypnotic, uh, like it is. I just knew to me it's again do or don't do. I'm sure there's other specified names other than what you said, but that I just made it simple, do or don't do. So
Yep.
from there, yeah. So, but and hey, today we're talking with Antoinette Lee, and don't forget to check out her podcast, New Normal Big Life. All right, Antoinette. So yeah, that was a lot put into that, but I understood. Um, and like
So
most everything, I would say like most everything else, it depends on how much we are pushed or desired that we're going to grow this in us. You know, if we don't, the whole thing, if we don't use it, we lose it. You know, how many people that are not encouraged enough to spring out and do this, that they're low self-esteem, always negative, always whatever else, don't see the best light at the end of the tunnels, and because they wouldn't exercise to have that to develop more into themselves.
right. But the good thing is that it's only a 3-day process to adapt and ascend. And it's called the Adapt and Ascend Protocol. And so for
Mhm.
the first weeks 1 through 4, you're just going to stabilize. So right after the event happens through the 4th week, you do things like go to talk therapy to process what happened to you and how you feel about it. You get the medical care you need. Like in our case, we needed medical care, and sleep and rest is your friend at this point. And you want to track your mood, rate it from a 0 to a 10. And then weeks 5 through 8, you're going to introduce one positive ritual. So like a 10 minutes of gratitude per day and one type of exercise, whether it's bed yoga, chair yoga, going for a walk, getting out in your wheelchair, and don't use the motor, manually push yourself,
That's right.
getting outside in nature and getting some activity. And then week 3, at week 9 through 12, you'll add one more meaning-based activity like volunteering, maybe volunteering with people with disabilities or somewhere else in your community. And what the studies show in burn victims and cancer survivors is that this structured approach doubles the speed and the height, the level of which they restore themselves to happiness and self-fulfillment just by following these 3 steps.
Oh yeah, I can see that, especially like I said, when first get injured, whatever it is, it's the new thing, cancer or whatever it is. Uh, First thing it's find the medical, find a way to start healing. And I'm like you, definitely got to rest, let your body recover. Okay, what do these wild animals do? They get hurt or something, they're finding a place to hide from everything else in the world just so it can sleep to let its
Right.
body start recovering. And so that's what we do. So yeah, I agree with
Yes.
you. And plus, introducing some of the stuff you used to like, slowly introducing it, and then how can I participate? I may not be able to play baseball like I used to, but there's got to be a way to adapt it. We still do. Okay.
Right. There's a way to adapt every sport. So, for example, in my life, I use whitewater kayaking and archery.
Oh, cool.
Archery
Yeah.
help Archery helped me recover. Um, well, I use the neuroplasticity benefit of archery to recover functions like holding a conversation, anything that required focus, watching TV, reading a book. And then I use whitewater kayaking first in a heated pool and
Or
then
your
out on
wild
lakes
side.
and rivers. Right, exactly. As a way to recover my body, muscle movement, hand-eye coordination. And
Well, the balancing on that ride,
yeah,
so you
yeah,
don't fall
exactly.
into there and learn how to shift your weight when it's going. A lot of things is involved in it. Yeah.
Exactly. And those skills translate into the rest of your life too. And
Exactly.
it boosts your confidence.
Yep.
So imagine I put my walker, when I first got started with kayaking, I would put my walker down at the side of the river. I'd get in my plastic boat. And you know what? I felt like everyone else. Didn't need anything different. I just kayak like everyone else. But I also kayak with blind kayakers, kayakers with a leg amputation or arm amputation, people with autism, all kinds of people can adaptive kayak. And so you may need something like, if you only have one arm, you'll have an adaptive side of your connection on your paddle so that you can paddle like someone who has two arms. So there's all kinds of ways.
See, I would have thought if, say, I got a left arm missing and put me in a kayak, they would put me in a dual kayak where the guy's missing the right arm. And that way y'all are both working to one side. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding, people. I'm kidding, amputees. Okay. I'm just trying to have some fun. Okay. So, all right. But I still can see that though. One working one side, one working other. But again, like I said, there are adaptive equipment that will help you
Yes.
do what you're supposed to do on both sides. I'm kidding.
Right.
Don't send me that stuff. All right. Just having fun. Come on. If you can't laugh with your disability, go eat a cookie. I don't know. So
You
all
know
right.
what? If you can't laugh about it, then you haven't completely healed from the loss of your previous life.
Yeah, when I
Because once
first
you
had my
can laugh
injury,
about it, you know you're golden.
if you're on the right side now. Yeah, I remember the first
Right.
time dreading every time that anniversary year when I first got paralyzed. And now it's a celebration because look what all I've done that the experts said I would never do when we first got hurt. You know, I'm sure you heard when you first got hurt, you'll never do this, you'll never do this, you'll never do this. I just saw a thing last night. I don't remember the actress, but her husband was a football player and they had an autism son, and he's actually working with the Dodgers. This autistic son is, but she says she remembers the day they call it "never do nothing." Said it was the day that the doctors always saying, "Well, he'll never do this, he'll never do this, he'll never do this," instead of telling them what they can be doing. And so
Yes.
here he is. They did a show. It was right before the game last night, and that he's working with the Dodgers. You know, this
Beautiful.
autistic. Yes, it is. So yeah, that's one thing.
Well,
When I first had my injury, if they're telling me things I'll never do, of course I'm just
exactly.
listening. I'm too young to understand to know. But now to me would be, all right, doc, you spend 20 minutes, tell me what I can do. Hey, give me 10 minutes of what I can do. You know,
Absolutely.
give me some hope. Tell me some stuff
Right.
you can.
And
And that's
you
what
know
needs to be done.
that's kind of unique in American medicine, is that doctors give you limitations or tell you you have X amount of time to live. Other countries, they don't do that. So I find that very interesting. And
You know why I think they do that? This is just my personal belief. I've never done a research on it. I think they tell you all the bad things you can do. And if you do better than what they say, you can't sue them. Because if they say, well, we're a sue happy country nowadays. You know, where did they go? Well, James, you may not be able to walk like you used to, but you may be able to use a walker and walk. Well, then if I can't use a walker, I could sue because they told me the wrong information. So I think they give us a bad what we can do. Then if you overdo it, oh yeah, I may have been wrong, but I think they're protecting their ass so they don't get sued the way we're so sue happy. I'm
you
one of
might have a
them.
point
I'm
there.
one of them. Point blank, tell me like it is, okay, and don't pussyfoot around. Let's move so we can go. That's me. Tell me like it is. So
Yeah, I prefer that too, James, because you know what you're working with and you can go forward from there. And what to tell you how hedonic adaptation and creating your new normal and choosing to live a big life, how it worked in my life. So in 2014 is when I sat down and I wrote down what my new normal would be, how big my life is going to be. And 4 years later, my life was even bigger than I envisioned. So I was just learning to whitewater kayak in 2014, but 2019, I was a sponsored adventure sports athlete So if you've ever watched like a ski race, a downhill ski race, and they're interviewing usually some 20 something about the race, Lucas, tell us what you thought about that race. Oh, I'd love to tell you about that, they respond. But first, I got to thank my sponsors. That was me. That was my life. But I was 53 when it happened.
That just because you're 35 years old, right?
No, I was 53 at the time. I'll be 58 now.
I read your information over here. See?
Yeah.
I wasn't going to tell you. I wasn't going to say the 50 something. I was just going to say 35 out for you.
I love telling people about my age and what I've been able to do, because a lot of people assume that when you turn 50, your life is over. When I was 53, sponsors looked at my vibrancy and how I lived my life and how I spoke and how healthy I looked, and they assumed I was 35. And they still gave me the brand ambassadorship and sponsorship anyway.
Good deal. I was just a few weeks ago had a conversation with someone, and they go, I just don't understand the people that are going, the new 60 is 40. So you're 60, you're 60. Well, you're 60 if you sit around and watch TV and don't do anything. Your body and everything feels 40 when you're out exercising, being active, still out in the community. But yeah, you're going to be 60 if you don't do anything. I said, they're not saying you're regressing back. They're talking about how you feel. The new 60 feels like they're 40 because they're being out active, doing things. So that's what I was trying to explain to them. They would just go, I don't understand. How can you be 60 and 40?
Well, I run an adventure camp. It's a free camp for low-income families, and we take children to adventure camp in the mountains of Colorado. And when they start getting up in that elevation, they're from age 6 to 16. And we have camp counselors that are age in their 20s through their 60s. And we have 60-year-olds who can hike up those mountains like it's nothing. And we have 6-year-olds and 16-year-olds who can barely make it. So they act more like a 60-year-old.
Yeah. Well, and of course, they're not used to doing it. If they did it more frequently, they would but I see I understand what you're saying. But the other person I was talking to, they go, no, it ain't right. Their body's 60. But they're strong like a 40-year-old because they're still exercising. They're still eating right nutrients. You sit over here and eat your bonbons and watch the game on TV and not do anything to play the game, you're going to be 60. So
exactly.
So I had to finally just bite my tongue and shut up. They just wouldn't get it. Now let me ask you this question, because I had this about 2 months ago. I had the same. You brought it up. And I talked to someone 2 months ago about the same thing. And don't look all serious. Like what the hell did I bring up? And he's
exactly.
No, don't do that. It's just the answer to the half water in the cup. They say there's two answers, right? People say I neither see it half empty, example you gave, staying negative, not regressing, not improving because of the way they're, or people say it's half full, and then we're thought to think, well, they're positive, right? I have a third way to look at it.
Me too.
Okay. Maybe we got the same maybe we got the same thing, but I look at it as it's overfilling. It's more than positive. What's in it? Water, and then we got air, oxygen, and when it comes out the top and it's surrounded in a cup, so which makes me overabundantly positive.
Ooh, I love that, James.
So that's
James, that's a whole new way to look at it. So there are 4 ways to look at it.
My next book needs to be writing about that. Okay.
Exactly.
All right. And you got a way you look at it.
That really is a brilliant take, though, James. Seriously. It really is.
Those things where people say, looking outside the box, just a different way to look at it. I mean, we've been trained to think negative, positive, negative, positive. Wait a minute. there's air in there. I did hippie one day. I was going, wait a minute, there's air in there. It's not just water. So it's more than full because it's surrounding the cup. It's overly full. So,
And then the fourth way to look at it is the cup doesn't even exist, or the glass doesn't even exist. So you have a
you don't have the
limited,
boundaries. You don't have the
unlimited.
boundaries. Yeah.
Exactly. You don't have any limitations.
That's when you take the cup and pour it upside down and let everything fall out and show the same amount of water here that's in there. But now there's no, like you said, limitations holding it in there, no boundaries. So
Exactly.
there you go. Good deal. So we need to work on our next book. We need to collaborate and we'll talk about this. So,
All right, James.
all right. Well, this has been good. I just, like I said, after you said create your amazing day today, I just knew we were going to get along. So,
Well, I listened to a few of your episodes and I was like, I really hope James will sit down and talk with me because I want to be on his show.
yeah. Oh, I bet you went like this. Oh shit. He did accept my invitation. Oh man. Oh, this would be the worst thing I've ever had. Well, I am kidding people because we live try to have fun. Okay. But well, I'm glad you thought that you were hoping I really was going to. So I appreciate that. So I try to take as many people as I can because everybody has their own stories. Everybody has their own with hardships going on. I tell people, I said, I try not to limit whatever problem's going on because even though it may not be serious to me, serious to you, but it's serious to them. And my example is, say we get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, get a drink of water, and we stump our toe on the door jamb. Now, for most of us, we're going to lose an hour's sleep because our toe is throbbing and we're mad. Okay. But what if you're one of them people who have brittle bone disease and now you shattered that toe? Or what if you're one of them that's got that hemophiliac and now you're bleeding uncontrollably inside there? Or what if you're one of them rare disease called progeria? These kids look like they're 8 years old, but they look like they're 80.
Yeah.
That rare disease. So I try not to limit. I mean, there's some things I say no to, but try not to limit because again, what someone is going through, it may be life changing for them, even though it's nothing to me. So,
Absolutely, James.
well, I appreciate you being on here, Antoinette, and appreciate you sharing the heptonic
Hedonic adaptation.
hedonic. I'm glad you shared. Again, I had a simpler way, but and I'm not surprised there's a big word out there for it. There's words out there for everything nowadays. So, but I appreciate you sharing it with us. And I tell you what, I love your personal attitude and personal outgoing. We need to get together again in 6 months just to talk, see how things are going.
That sounds good. And I'll also have you on the New Normal Big Life. I'd love
Hey,
to.
y'all heard that, people? Hold her to it. Hold her feet to the fire. I'm going to be on there. All right. So, yeah, I appreciate you. I saw your podcast and I thought, hey, New Normal Big Life. I had a New Normal Big Life as well. So, yeah,
you are living a very big life, James, and I'm so grateful that you're showing people what's possible after a big injury like what you sustained, because you're an example of what is possible. And there's somebody sitting in a room right now listening to you, or maybe out on the walk, and their doctor just gave them some really bad news and they're wondering how they're going to get through it. And now they have James's story and my story and all the stories that you bring to the public consciousness through your podcast. You're doing God's work.
Amen, sister. Thank you. Hey, just think they say this stuff's on the internet forever. So you think 100 years from now, when you're 153, people are going to say, hey, I can use that information. So
Exactly.
all right. Hey, Antoinette, hey, give everybody your social media. And again, the podcast, hers is New Normal Big Life. And be sure to check that out. But go ahead and give your social media, how anybody can get a hold of you.
So if you're looking for natural ways to support your good health and your big life, if you want to learn more about how to get outside and adventure, like learning archery or learning how to paddleboard or kayak, even adaptive sports, if you're looking for ways to be more resilient and self-reliant, no matter what life throws at you, you can find it all on New Normal Big Life podcast at nnbl.blog and on my social media, where I post daily some tip for you from an expert or from my own research on how to improve your life. You can find us on Instagram at NNBL Podcast, on TikTok at New Normal Big Life Podcasts, and on X at NNBL Blog. And you can also listen to New Normal Big Life wherever you get your podcasts.
There you go. And we'll get that information put in the show notes, make it easier for them to pitch up on it. So, all right, Amy.
Awesome.
I know I'm changing the subject. Shut up, leave me alone. Hey, Google disability children going trick-or-treating and look at some of the advancements these parents have come up with today. And hopefully, again, these organizations or whoever puts them together are doing stuff to make it easier so parents don't have to start from scratch to do that. So just throwing that off a little difference. Okay. Antoinette, thank you for being here. Hey, we know people are hurting and struggling today. If you can leave us with a positive message, that'd be a blessing.
Yes. So hedonic adaptation doesn't erase your trauma, but it frees you from it. So the suffering will fade eventually, but you have to work at it. It will come naturally on its own. It'll start to fade away, but you could get stuck where you are and not living the kind of life you want. So you don't need to feel grateful for your injury, but you can use that injury as a reset to build a richer life than what you thought you could ever have. James has done it, I've done it, and I know millions of other people who have, and everything that you need is inside you too. So go out, get the information. You have free downloadable access if you sign up for our newsletter at nnbl.blog. And so everything you learn on the podcast, you can learn how to do it step by step. So it makes it easier for you to implement in your life.
Amen, sister. Yep, we all have it in us. It's just we have to grow it and expand it and make it strong in our belief system and our brain that we can do it. So
you said it, brother.
The old thing, survival of the fittest kind of thing. You know, again, like I said earlier, we neither do yes or we don't do. And I'd rather be in the yes, let's do. And if I failed, at least I tried.
Amen. Yes.
So, all right, Antoinette, thank you for being here. And we'll go from there. And again, about 6 months from now, please, you be the one to remember the 6 months because I'll forget.
Okay.
Just send me a thing again. And we'll just catch up, see how things are going. So
sounds good, James. And I'll see you on New Normal Big Life.
Dr. James Perdue, the professor of perseverance. Do something today, tomorrow, something next week that's going to help you persevere past your